Greetings, everyone. I'm going to be recording from an odd angle. So, I was watching one of the Steve Harvey shows where he had three women, and they were talking about forgiveness and forgetting, and can you truly forgive if you have not forgotten, and so forth. And everybody was giving their commentary, and this is a huge issue for me in my growth, that I see it in this way, and that I agreed. If there was one woman who was sitting in the middle, gave her thing, gave her view of it, which is if someone has done something to you, remember they've done something to you. If you are a Christian, or if you believe in God and Jesus, one and the same, that you're supposed to forgive, period, right? But everybody is different, because a lot of people put forgiveness and forgetting in one loop, and that then in turn jumps into, do you still deal with the person? And the lady in the middle who first spoke had made the comment of, I certainly wouldn't invite that, back, because if I keep really just forgetting what you did, and we're just coming back together, and the same issue is occurring, then that is an issue. None of us are idiots. We're not saying that, well, not none of us, we'll just say, I understand that, well, for me, I understand that there are levels to it. So the lady basically just said, if you keep forgiving someone, and these are very random things, meaning depends on what the level of what it is that someone has done, and they touched on that. Then we're just going around in circles, basically, is what she was saying. And then Steve and the other two women made their comment, and it basically just was stating, well, yeah, forgiveness is true forgiveness, and would you let it go, and so forth and so on. Again, I personally think it depends on what it is that you're talking about, the transgression. And so then they got around to that. And then also what I do love is the woman in the middle, because you could tell she seemed slightly a bit nervous, because everybody was kind of not necessarily going against what she was saying, but just saying, like, you really truly forgiven if you have not forgotten? And then we carry around that pent up anger. We've forgiven them, but then we're angry. Steve says, well, I think he said, as somebody he knew, his mother or his grandmother said something, and other people have said this too, which is, you haven't truly forgiven if you're still walking around angry. And that's true. And then he said, the grandmother or the mother or someone said, you're not forgiving them, you're forgiving them for you, because you're the one walking around with the anger. And I think that, you can pick up on all of that, but in the end, I liked that the lady stood about what she said, and that, I'll forgive you if something keeps occurring and it's the same deep transgression, not something silly and petty that you should forgive people for. We're not talking about stuff that doesn't affect you in such a deep way. But I think we're talking about, for me, when I think about the word forgiveness, it's like loyalty or friend or love, that people want to take that one thing and think that it's all encompassing, and it isn't. It just isn't. And they kind of ended, the lady was like, she was saying, if you like, just one of the ladies who initially said something that was almost different from the first one, had said, now if you crack me upside the head with a bottle, now, yeah, like, I'm gonna forgive you, but like, I'm not gonna forget that. And I think that the lady who initially spoke was saying, forgiveness and forgetting are two different things. That she can forgive you, but she can't forget. And what she meant was, she's probably, depending on what that relationship isn't going to walk around and have it eat her up, or her to be angry. And so has she truly forgiven? But ultimately, basically what she's saying is that I don't have to let you near me, because what someone failed to say is the person that's hurting you, have they changed? And I always say this: if I were to do something to someone and expect them to forgive me, if they did the same thing to me, would I respond the same? And there are people who want to continue to do things to you, not necessarily because they didn't know what they were doing. Some people are really just testing you to see how they can use you if they are that kind of person. We hear about unhealthy relationships all day, but we never consider that we could be in one of them in a certain way. And so my stance is that I agree with all of them, but I agree with the first woman only because individually, I reserve to make the right if what you've done to me warrants me not being able to trust you anymore, forgiving, forgetting, but saying I can't have you close to me because not only have you're constantly repeating that, and what you're repeating, it's just simply unhealthy. This isn't like you keep eating my food and I constantly forgive you. This isn't these things that are serious but not serious enough to remove the relationship if in fact depending on what the relationship is and so forth and so on. And I think that how you two move in whatever that relationship is, I think that for me there are several factors in which I look at, which is number one, I look at this person that I'm dealing with and say, could I do this thing to this person and have them still trust me and say, oh, you should forgive me, and I keep doing it? Am I the kind of person, no matter what my motive was, can I expect this person to continue to forgive me unless I have a motive of my own? Otherwise, why would you keep doing it? And it may not be because you have a motive, but please know that you have to be able to be wise enough in your own life to understand what that is, what your relationships are, who you are, and what you're looking at. The second thing I measure is if this person doesn't seem to understand why I don't trust them, if they've given me a valid reason to, and they know that. If I look at this person and this person seems to be more irritated because they can't shove this behavior. They want to shove this behavior down my throat and expect me to not feel no type of way about it. It's almost as if they're saying, I'm going to continue to beat you, I'm going to continue to do it, and every time you buck against it, I'm going to look at you like you're crazy. It's like gaslighting. It's like in my mind, I'm thinking, why would you think that I would look at this and accept this as something normal because I should know? Like, I wouldn't be able to do it to you and have you look at me normal. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I look at that, and I also look at how well do you know me. I look at several different things, but ultimately I go back. Ultimately, I guess I'm saying that you don't get to decide for someone, and I'm not talking about outside of your forgiveness, and I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that because you can't, the way that they discussed it was wonderful because it gave all perspectives and give each individual person the opportunity to say, okay, what part is that in you? But ultimately, you're the one who's making a decision, and you're making a decision because remember, no matter how anybody feels about your lack of forgiveness or whatever, you were still the person who you were the person who had something done to you. And I don't like people who believe that they are somehow so fabulous that they could do something to me or to whomever you're doing it to and expect them to keep forgiving you and to think that you're going to put up with it out of some form of loyalty, especially if the behavior suggests that why. And I'm not talking about normal stuff. Y'all, I don't want anybody to get this twisted. I'm talking about stuff that you know darn well. You know darn well that if you ain't the devil, that you know damn well that you wouldn't deal with putting. You know you wouldn't. It doesn't matter how kind you thought the person was. If somebody is doing something to you that you know is that you know. It doesn't matter what I want you to do. The bottom line is that that person still reserves the right. I've had this happen. Somebody just decided, am I growing up? I may have had a moment and they decide they're not going to talk to me no more. I have to look back and say, did I deserve that? Absolutely. I can attest to that. I was like, damn, I understand. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not going to. I get it. Because at the end of the day, to some level, when somebody really cares about you, at some point that type of thing stops to some degree. And I'm not talking about normal stuff, people. I'm talking about stuff that is concerning. And I have come to find that in my life, being 50, I've had to really look at a lot of things about myself because it's something that I've always wanted to do in order to really get to a place that I want to be. And the struggle is harder for me because I'm dealing with something that's very specific that I can guarantee that maybe if it may be one other person on this planet who's going through it, but no, mine is very specific. And so I'm constantly getting these triggers. And here's the thing is, I've always, growing up, even before all of what I'm going through started, I've always been that way. So the way that I respond to things hasn't changed. And although the way that I deal with them may not change, the way that my response may not change, I'm just learning to now more so ignore it so that it's not internalized. But the reason why I was looking at it is because I needed to. Is that I'm the kind of person where, and people say, oh, you talk too much and you shouldn't. I said, baby, that's how I can tell who the damn devil is. That's how I know. Because anybody that takes something about you or from you that really has nothing to do with them and uses it against you because they have a reason to. And most of the time, it's not to help. You got people all over YouTube, in the streets, tell their business every 2 minutes to everybody. I know this because I have been around people who talk to people about their personal business. You will also have to understand, if you are the one who, for some reason, you could be around 10 people and all of them could be doing the exact same thing or have done the exact same thing. But when you do it, it's a problem. It's a problem. I know women, they got all kinds of male friends and they phones laugh, joke. I done been places when the male friend they've been knowing or grew up with, is, maybe being a little bit flirtatious or whatever. I've seen it all. Nobody says anything. She ain't a whole 3 or 4. She flirt. Nothing. Can talk to him like they want. Baby, I didn't seen it. But, I think what I began to learn is that I'm not really concerned about how somebody feels about how I should respond and react, especially if something that has been done warrants that response. I'm not going to feel bad about responding to something in the appropriate, normal way that anybody who genuinely cared about me would not have expected a different response, and that the only reason why it was going to be different is because it was them. That's like I heard, and this is so strange, still on the relationship tag, which is, I actually heard, what was it? I'm trying to see. I almost lost my train of thought. I heard a guy say that a man wants a woman with standards, but then he kind of don't either. And some men gauge your standards. I don't remember what video this is. If I ever come across it, I'm going to, I call it, given the credit to where it actually came from. He said, darn, what was I going to say? He said, oh crap, I lost my train of thought. I think the guy was saying something like, a woman with standards. He said, a man wants a woman with standards, but also when he meets, there's a certain kind of guy that when he meets a woman with these standards she says she has, he wants to know that she would be willing to break every one of those for him. And that's his idea, that she really likes him. But the problem is that happens all the time. See, you can always find somebody that's going to break, if a woman is allowing a man to, if there are certain things that she's not going to tolerate, and she tolerates them from him, and you can grasp to the idea that she must really like me more, that very well may be true. But there are women who will do that for all of the men. And I don't mean, when I mean some women, you're going to find some women that won't, you're going to find some women that will. But if you think that if this woman is the kind of person that's willing to say, I don't want you to do this, that, and the other, and then you do it, and I'm saying, oh, she must really like me because otherwise she wouldn't, then what's the point of you looking for? What you're saying is you really don't want a woman with standards. How does that benefit? You have to ask yourself, what does that mean for me? Because if a woman were doing it, I understand that men and women are different and that we don't function the same. I understand that that no matter what, there's always going to be a double standard. We cannot get out of it. We just can't. The same way we benefit from certain things, men benefit from certain things. And what I know is that I see that differently. See, the thing is that a lot of the things I believe in terms of relationships and what men say I do, a lot of it will take discipline depending on the kind of woman you are and how you grew up. But a lot of it, to me, just because I'm a woman, just because I have a vagina, it doesn't mean I'm going to let you present me or in some ways treat me a certain way and you just expect me to do it because I can't be insecure, but you are the only one that could be insecure in that I have to look stupid or dumb myself down because you want to be able to stick your chest out and say X, Y, and Z, even though you know what you're doing is wrong. And to me, I don't see that It's part of being a man. When I see that type of behavior, I don't say, oh, and I'm not saying that I have to challenge you. I'm not saying that I have to square off on a man. I'm saying that I see things differently, in that you're not going to tell me that this is a I can do it but you can't. That it's not the act that's wrong. Is I want to be the one that does it to you and you accept it, because I just need I'm a man, and I want my woman that's going to know I'm wrong but still back me, even though I know that either what I'm doing to her or what I'm doing is wrong. To me, there's something about that, to me, that just doesn't make any sense, and there is nobody on this planet that's going to convince me otherwise. I don't give a fuck what you say. Even if I get in a relationship and I do it, babe, I'm gonna tell you something. That's the biggest load of crap I ever heard of in my life. That you're telling me that I'm supposed to allow somebody to be abusive to me, and I have to just sit back and be quiet and act like it's nothing. I don't care if it's to get ahead. I have known there are times when I've had to humble myself. That depends on if I'm at work, but there are parts of my life when that is an absolute no for me, and I'm willing to accept what comes with that. Oh, well, you might be alone for the rest of your life. Pimping out it, baby. I'm already all right with it. Oh, it's that important, dog. If it's more important for me to have somebody shit on me to make them feel better, as opposed to me doing whatever it is that I have to do and not needing somebody to make me feel a certain way about myself, I'm sorry. And if I don't care how much I care about you, I am still entitled to say, even if I decide to deal with it, and when I decide to deal with it, I'm not, baby, you're not going to convince me that it makes sense, because it doesn't. That you would rather have somebody that would allow you to treat them a certain way as some sort of testament. And I'm not saying you can. I'm not saying I won't. I done been there. Baby, I'm not saying I can't tell you that. What I will tell you is I have accepted the fact that if in fact I can't shake it or shimmy it, because I have experienced situations or dating situations in my way past, no matter how long or how short they were, in which I never had to deal with that from a man. The type of certain men that I dated, never once did I get that ick feeling. And then there are times when I got that ick feeling. I was like, yeah, no, like I don't have a problem being submissive. I don't have a problem with none of that stuff. But if something is deep enough, and if you think I'm just not gonna say nothing because I'm a woman, I'm just, baby, listen, I don't have to be combative with you to get my point across. What I am saying, that whatever I accept, I want you to know I know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm not gonna have you convince me of something that I know damn well don't makes a lick of sense to me. That as a woman, of all the things that I have been through, there are just some things based on my experience and the way that I grew up, that just there's certain things that I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to get into something and with someone and they're just trying to break my neck to say if you really love me, then you would get over the fact. And it's not that you can. The problem is that when someone it might be telling you that this is something that I'm going to do to you often in order for you to prove that you love me more than you. And then I remember in my past when I loved someone more than me, when I did all the things I was supposed to do and was just ripped apart for it. Then when I stopped doing it was a problem. So it was like, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. What difference does it make? But I am the kind of woman that has decided that I don't need to be with somebody to be miserable and to be shitted on and to be sent because it makes me unhappy, and that whole, in God's glory, the suffering and all of that. I get that, but this doesn't have anything to do with you. That's like me saying I'm gonna go to prison and have them beat me with a switch every day just because that I'm supposed to be beat with a switch. That you're telling me that God expected me and wanted me to have no happiness, no joy. And I'm not saying that in terms of the carrying the loads and doing what you're supposed to do for God, but I also believe that you can also do that and be respected by people. I believe that you can carry people's loads as long as it is not a disgusting thing in which people are just trying to tear you down. Because for me, my mind just doesn't understand, because I grew up being abused. My mind doesn't understand growing up and believing for the rest of my life I'm supposed to be in relationships with people who are literally just beating the shit out of me, and I'm supposed to, because that is not about them learning a lesson. I'm just supposed to forgive. But what about them? Are you really honestly telling me that if you were one of God's stewards or whatever, that God wanted you to help somebody who really just had no intent but to continue to harm you? Now, you can protect yourself emotionally and all of that. You can absolutely do that. But I guess I'm just saying that forgiveness and all of that, and relationships and what people expect from you as a woman, for me, I don't care what you say. I'm willing to be alone if it means that I have to be with someone who is constantly making me feel a certain way, and it's unhealthy. That what they're doing and what they're asking me to do is unhealthy. That I can't really in my mind understand why someone would think that is like that's like something that you would expect another human being to do in order for you to feel love, that somebody has to go that deep. And it's not about, oh, is she gonna leave me? But my thing is that another guy even said it. He said the truth of the matter is that there are men who want to date women who is willing to be unhappy with them than to have some sort of relief or peace without them. Now you tell me, I don't, and even if a man believed that, even let's say a man believed that, right? Man believe it. A man believes that, and you're the kind of woman that is willing to, is willing to do that, and you love him that much. And I get it. Like, I'm not taking nothing from nobody. Please know that it's far be it from me. Everybody already know me. All individually, both male and female, no matter who you are, want something different. And what I mean want something different, I mean some people have a different role. Some people have a different role that they want to play in everybody's life. You are who you are. I ain't here to tell nobody what they can and can't do. Now, I may not agree with it, but at the end of the day, it's not for me to decide. That's between you, that person, and the good Lord. I don't get that far into nobody's mess, because it just, you can't do it. You asking for trouble to some degree, right? So I'm like, okay, well, it's important for me to make sure that I have a certain level of love for myself that I didn't get, and I want to be in a position where I feel like the person that I'm with cares enough about me to not do something that is degrading, but thinks I'm supposed to just overlook it and step through it as some way to prove something to somebody else. That's just something that I'm just not going to do, at least that I know thus far. Now, I'm not telling you it may never happen. If I should go batshit crazy, I can't make no promises, because hell, but I'm saying it's just too hard for me to understand that. I guess maybe because of the level of abuse. I've been in too many situations as an adult woman, and I can't allow somebody to tell me that I'm supposed to accept something that they doing that is degrading to me. It's all of that. And you think you really would make a decision for me that I love you more to have you be to degrade me than I love myself just to be with you? Why would you even want to put in, if you felt as if whatever you feel about my behavior, whatever, you can either come to me and talk to me personally. There's just certain things that you can do. And for me, I'm just the kind of person where you're going to have to, you're going to have to really just, I don't know. I feel like I don't understand it. And I can't do it. I don't care if nobody agrees with me. I'm okay with it. Because at the end of the day, if I have to end up dying alone with just my kid and a couple cousins, baby, I ain't mad at nobody. I'm willing to accept that. But I'm saying that to me, that's a line for me that I can't cross for nobody. Because it doesn't make sense. I have grown up with people who were degraded, wasn't loved. I know people right now that's with somebody they don't even want to be with, don't give a flying fuck about them. The only thing they were concerned about was beating them for dear life to make sure that they wouldn't leave. They weren't concerned about nothing other than, can I trap you? To me, trap is something that you do to somebody that you got either whatever you feel. And I'm not saying that there aren't some that come out well. I'm talking about that when you're in a situation in which to you rather have loyalty than love, and you rather have somebody, and I know women who do it, that just want to be around people who love and care for them so much that they can do things and be a certain way, and they're really just looking for to see if you're going to leave or if you're loyal. And one of the things that's even really more interesting is that I don't think that that's a negative thing. My problem is that if you have to be around somebody and they're only there because they are afraid of you, and you're not concerned about whether or not they want to be there, you're not concerned about the happiness, you're just concerned about the possession part of it. You're concerned about you. For me, I can see that, yeah, that's to really love somebody, man. But I think on the part where if you're in a situation in which this is something that borderlines, I'm not necessarily concerned about the person. So I want to be able to do what I want to do, say what I want to say, and treat you the way that I want to treat you. And I don't care how that affects you, but I would rather do that to keep you here. And see, to me, I feel like if you have to go to that level with someone, do they really love you? Do you really have to do that kind of thing? And if you were with someone who only understood that type of love or behavior, who are you in love with? How are you in love with somebody that's saying, I want you to treat me like garbage so that I can stay? I'm saying I don't understand it. Baby, you just do you all day. I ain't mad at you. Trust and believe. Because like I said, we all need something different. I'm willing to take whatever comes from that. But I'm saying that there's just certain things and there's so many things that people say and do to me that for me, I tell them, I said, baby, listen, I see something completely different, and you're not going to convince me of it. I'd rather do without whatever, but you're not going to convince me, because to me that don't make sense. You don't have to understand why it don't make sense to me, pimpin'. I'm not asking. I'm saying it don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to me. And in relationships, I think that there are some times when you got to forgive and forget and just let the person be about their way, because if the person themselves haven't changed, you're not teaching them to love, honor, and respect you. You're teaching them to be shitty to you, because you're saying, and you're supposed to love in this kind of way in which God does it, and I get it. But I'm just saying that there's just some things that I don't think you should ask someone to say you can forgive, but that person gets to decide how they gonna move. If you are a friend or a loved one and you say maybe where you're coming from, you just hooked up with certain things that's blocking you, this person hasn't really done, those are different circumstances in which a person has a valid reason to say, I don't trust you anymore, because what they've done is so deep that even if they a month ago or 2 months later they realize, say, dog, if you now see you wrong about 2 months later and you're sorry, I'm gonna need to see at least another year of you being consistent with something to prove, because I'm just not gonna walk back. I don't know if you really done learned something. Being sorry is one thing, doing it again is something completely different. And so I think for me, I'm working on now, for me it's navigation. I'm going back in my life and I'm reflecting and I'm understanding why, if someone responded to me this way, I understand it. But I also know that I was dealing with a situation I never had, and the things that were happening to me were completely wrong. And so my responses were valid in that I wouldn't have been expected to have any other normal response to it, especially when someone is on the outside looking in and they don't actually know what I'm dealing with. But I also know there are some times when it was completely my fault and I completely get it. But the majority of the time I have to look at, Denise, don't feel bad about something because it was what it was, or what else would you expect your response to be? Now, if it happened again, would you do something different? Probably. But I'm learning that when you know the truth about a situation, and anything I add is about behavior, that I had to stop trying to explain, because ultimately, and there's some ways I kind of do, I don't regret that either, but what I'm saying is that I've learned and I began to understand that I know why I move and I function like I do. So for anybody, it's the Steve Harvey about forgiveness. I think I posted it to my Facebook page, but it's a really interesting conversation that they had. But as a woman, I have learned that I have a lot more growing to do, number one. But number two, I understand that because my life is a certain kind of specific outside of everybody else's, the way that I have responded in my situations, dating-wise or family-wise, has been completely different than what a normal person would do because of my situation. And so that's one of the things that I've learned, is that in my situation, nobody with any sense would have expected me to operate in any other way, which is why I struggle with it's harder for me because when people are doing things to you and they expect you to forgive or forget, and it's like, dog, like, you don't realize what you just did was sus as a like, and you did it like it was so normal, like I wasn't supposed to look at that strange. I'm more curious about why you don't, like, to me that's like, I don't know what type of world you operating in. And even if I don't get it, my thing is that why would you think that I would respond any other way? And even if you, whatever your intent or motive was, how would you expect me to know that, number one? And number two, who are you to get to decide that it was okay for you to do it and act like I'm losing my mind for having the response? But that's neither here nor there. When you talk about it all as a whole, meaning because everybody's situation is differently, I begin to understand that there's nothing that I can do about that. But I'm not going to deviate from what I'm saying, especially if I know that what I'm saying makes perfect sense. Now, if you're asking me to come outside of myself and deal with something, that's one thing. But don't tell me that my response was crazy, especially when I know that why would you expect me to operate any differently? And if I forgive you, that's something else. If I forget, that's something entirely. But don't tell me that my response wasn't normal, especially if I know you're doing it intentionally. See, it's one thing when stuff is happening and it's organic, and there's another thing when it's not. But I ultimately understand that for me, I just understand me and I'm okay with it. I try to stay to myself and mind my business because I know what my temperament is. But at the end of the day, I also understand that I'm not going to allow anybody else to tell me or dictate to me if someone does something really horrible to me, whether or not I should forgive and forget, or whether or not I should. You don't get to decide how that's going to process for me. And instead of questioning me, maybe you should question the person that did it. Maybe we should ask why you would do that as opposed to why did you respond that way. But I understand that now. I understand that I'm not even asking, especially if my response was valid. So forgive and forgetting is a very difficult thing. Again, like I said, friendship, love, and loyalty and all of that. I think you got to be very careful. You have to be very careful because dogs are loyal. You can train a dog. You can train any woman to fit into a role. Maybe you can train anything. So it's not necessarily, sometimes I think a lot of people are driven by ego. I do. I think a lot of people see what they want to see. It's the same theory that I have with men and women, and I'll go into this in another video, in which I say when you like somebody, everything that they do is a sign. If you go to a bar and a woman is talking to different guys, she 3 or 4 hoes, she working, that's what they say more often than not, depending on what kind of woman she is. You feel me? Because you got some women that's like a tomboy. She grew up with her brothers and all of that. Nobody says anything about her character if she flirting or nothing. But if a different kind of woman, they gonna say, oh, she a hoe, or she look at everybody like it. She say, see, because I've watched women who are social like me, who may move differently. Nobody says anything, nothing. I do something, all hell break out. That's the truth. All hell breaks out. I know women that share their life stories and things they've done and go through with all of their male friends in certain situations. I know in different cultures it's differently, but I know in the black culture it's different. But I will say that, like, if you go to a bar and the man is on a hunt and he's going and talking to different women, putting the numbers in the phone, give me your number, put your number in my phone, and then walk away, and he do this 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times, have these brief conversations, ain't nobody gonna say nothing. If a woman is in the bar and she's and if, let's just say for instance, she's interested in him, you got all of that out of a conversation, like you thought because I talked to you, and you think you thought I wanted a relationship. God, this is the bar. Like, I had men who dated women for years and said I wasn't in a relationship with her. They have babies with you, put their penis in you, walk and talk what you love yourself. We wasn't in a relationship. What are you talking about? But if a woman talked to more than one guy at the bar, they chit-chatting, and the man wants something, he's interested. Oh, she smiled at everybody. So it's not what you do, it's who's doing it. It's not what you do, it's who's doing it. And how you move. I've seen it, I've witnessed it. I know people who tell their business to everybody, talk about any and everything. They don't see that, they don't come back around for them, come back for me. I've had plenty of conversations with girlfriends. They had talked about their exes and all of that, still got pictures on the phone and all of that. I'm not even in a relationship with anybody. I may have, doing my thing a little bit, back in the day, closer than the back in the day than, farther. But, and then if there was some interest, but everybody's so far in my business that if I say something about one person, it's like that shit gets blown up so much it's ridiculous. It's about who you are. I done seen too many people around me doing the exact same thing and don't nobody say nothing. They ain't called no name. I've accepted. I ain't mad at nobody. I'm still gonna get up and do what I do. It ain't ever gonna matter. I'm gonna do what I do. So in terms of forgiving and forgetting, that's it. To me, it's two-weighted, and I think you have to be very sure about the kind of person you are, because you don't want to get into an environment that, even if it's the right thing, but you're just not there yet, don't let nobody rush you. If somebody has done something to you that is really degrading and disgusting, or just they cross the line, and you can forgive and forget, but you can't fool with them no more, that's nobody's business about whether or not you go back or keep. They don't get to decide that for you. Nobody gets to decide that for you. I grew up with people putting upon me. I'm getting tired of people telling me, baby, don't tell me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I know me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But you're not going to ask me to accept something that I know in my spirit don't look a fool right, and I'm not fooling with it. I'm not concerned about how you feel about that joint. Me and the Lord Jesus and thy God are going to be in a whole meeting forever. I'm be like, God, I know. I mean, I was like, baby, listen, I already know I'm about to see God about this one. I know I'm about to see him. Him and I going to talk. He going to give me my lashings. But if the only person I'm going to explain that to is God. Because at the end of the day, if you've done something to me that you know was cruddy and I know was cruddy pimping, you just going to have to wait on something. And you ain't got to. You can just say F and keep going. Either way, it don't make no difference to me. I'm going to feel the way I'm going to feel because I'm entitled. Ain't nobody going to tell me what I'm supposed to feel. And I mean nobody. But one thing you best believe is that every day when you get up, it is a new day, and you get to love yourself and get it right for however that is. I have got a whole lot of repenting to do in regards to my son, the things, and look at the relationship with my parents and so forth. And that's full comment, because the Lord says repent, which is to talk and say, hey, yeah, this was wrong. And to be able to admit to it so I can continue to grow and release myself and understand that mine's going to come when it comes. And just know that you have to be able to be really clear about forgiveness and forgetting, what that means for you in your life and how you grew up. Those are things you're going to have to deal with in order to move in life. And some people say, baby, it ain't hard for me. If you do something to me that's hard and bad, and I'm going to cut you off, and that's going to be it. That's how that person go. You can't force that person to see something or feel something. To some people, that's it for them. I know people that want me to forgive them for something but wouldn't forgive somebody else for something. Baby, I done been in some situations where what people tell and expect you to do ain't even almost what they doing. Baby, I know this. So sometimes people say, oh, don't shoot the messenger. I said, no, I get it. But it all depends on what you're talking about. You're not going to have somebody that's going to tell me something and you doing the same thing, and you say, no, it's not about the messenger, it's the message. Oh, yeah, it do. Because you better go find somebody else to tell me. You better go find that good church woman at the front pew who ain't never done it to come to me. But I'm not going to let you tell me. Because what you're saying is that you're going, I think to me it's more of a matter of you want to make me look a certain way, and you're doing the very thing that you are looking at me and you're looking down on me about, you're doing the exact same thing. And that's not acceptable to me. To me, it reminds me of the same thing. I can do it, but you can't do it. It's only wrong when you do it. Because I want to make you feel a certain way. But at any rate, I'm getting ready to get out of the car and say peace and blessings to you all, and I will talk to you soon.